Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard, brought to you by our sponsor, The Great Game of Business. I'm Lauren Feldman. I'm here with Gene Marks. Welcome, Gene.
Hello, Lauren. How are you?
I'm doing great. You?
Phillies are winning, so I'm feeling better.
All right. Let's hope that continues.
Hope that continues.
Gene, last week you wrote a piece that kind of took me by surprise. You suggested that businesses should offer childcare to their employees, and not just because it's a good thing to do, but because it'll drive the growth of the business.
Yeah.
That doesn't really sound like you. What's going on here, Gene?
No. I mean, when you say it doesn't sound like me, I think providing those kinds of benefits are good things. And, we talk about, when I go and I speak to different groups, because I write about this, a lot for The Guardian about, workplace stuff, and always on the lookout for sort of hot benefits. And obviously healthcare is big, and retirement is big, and flexibility is big. And flexibility now starts to overlap with child care and dependent care. And there have been, numerous studies, and one that I cited in an Inquirer piece I did last week, where it showed that, not only is child care benefits hugely in demand from employees, but, they benefit employers because it makes people more productive. And, so I went out and I talked to a few, employers, and they agreed. It's you really, when your employees come to work, you want your whole employee to be there, not a half an employee because he or she is worried about some childcare issue going on at home. And that happens a lot, teacher meetings, sick kids, schools being out, whatever. So there are firms that do this stuff, and they invest in childcare benefits, and they said across the board that it is a huge benefit for not only their employees, but themselves as well.
And it's not just having the full person at work. It's also the issue of retention, not having to replace employees who have to figure out some other solution. But I'm curious, you talk to a number of businesses of various sizes. The solutions obviously depend on the resources available to a given business. In some cases, I think you're talking about like a business actually opening up on-site childcare.
No, that's an option, and you get a massive tax credit if you were to build your own childcare facility. But in reality, the businesses I talk to, they contract with an existing childcare facility, and then they allow their employees to go there at a much lower cost. So if you're a small business, you can do a lot of the same things. For example, say you've got a childcare facility that you find, and you'd like to pay for so that your employees can use that facility at a much lower cost. Well, I realize that's not cheap, but you can always partner with other businesses in your area. So, and I have a couple clients that have done this before, where you have 3 or 4 companies that get together and they share the cost of contracting with the childcare facility for all their combined employees. And obviously that significantly reduces the cost. The other thing is that if you do it the right way, you can reimburse employees for their childcare expenses through a flexible savings accounts, and you get tax deductions for doing that as well. And the employees don't get taxed for doing that. So that's another option. Other things I've seen employers do is they offer flexibility, more flexibility. So it gets back to the whole paid time off plans, and judgment left to the employee when they take time off and what for. The more flexibility you can give in your PTO plans so that people can take some time off for an after-school meeting or a sick kid, that also helps. And then the other thing I found in this piece I did is there's a number of employers that hire or retain HR people or accountants and advisors. They pay for it. And then what happens is that they let all their employees get access to this person, and this person it provides them advice as to what the best childcare options are for them, how to fully take advantage of the childcare credit, because it's like you need a PhD to be able to understand this calculation for the childcare credit, and how to fully maximize their flexible spending benefits as well. It's complicated stuff, and a lot of people can't get their arms around it. But if you've got a paid for advisor by the company that can give, that help to the employees, it winds up being like a real benefit to those people. And again, the less they have to worry about their kids, then the more they can focus on their work. And that's the whole point of doing this stuff.
And were you convinced by the study that you really can tie this directly to the growth of the business?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's very, very tough to quantitatively connect that to growth. I do think that it is a benefit that will keep your employees more focused and productive. Obviously, it can help you retain existing employees and attract good employees as well because you're offering these kinds of benefits. There's a lot of different choices. Now weirdly enough, my 10 people, I only have one of them that has kids. So, they're just like an older demographic where it's not as much of an issue. When I say kids, I mean kids of very young age that need,
Right.
kind of care. Most of my employees, they have kids middle school, high school, or older, where it's not as much of an issue. Um, but I mean, if your demographic is such, your employees have younger children, and there's these childcare needs are there. I don't know. I just think in 2024, it's something that you've got to address. It's a popular thing, and if you don't, you might potentially lose talent to companies that are focusing on that more.
Well, this has probably been true for a long time, but it's especially true now because there's definitely been a shortage of childcare opportunities. There are fewer places to go. They have trouble finding employees. It's just been a tough time all around for that.
Yeah. I was just talking to some woman who, and this is happening around the country. Her kid goes to, she's from Texas, and her kid goes to a private school in Texas, and they're going to a 4-day work week. So expanded days on 4 days, and then Monday through Thursday, and then Friday there's no school, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the school's doing that because it helps to attract teachers, because school systems have this issue as well, which is all well and good. But then she's like, well, what the hell do I do now? I mean, I've got I got to provide, who's going to look after my kid on Friday? I got to come to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think this kind of thing is on the rise around the country. And I think that people need to, better understand that this childcare stuff is becoming more of an issue, and employers have to be more involved in this issue if they want to retain good people.
All right, next topic, artificial intelligence. Gene, you've been spending a lot of time looking at AI tools and what's available that businesses can actually make productive use of. Have you spent any time thinking about whatever dangers AI might present? I'm asking because the Wall Street Journal ran a kind of provocative story last week that I want to ask you about. But is this something that you've considered?
Yeah, 100%. When I do it's funny that you also bring it up. So last year I did a number of presentations, and throughout this year on AI, and I always mention sort of the risks about AI, and I'm actually putting together. I'm speaking to the North Carolina CPAs in September, and on AI, and I'm updating that list. There's a ton of risks, and I think that you can't talk about AI without talking about what those risks are. And it's everything from AI taking control of military equipment to, which is exciting. And I've got all these articles that, Ukraine flying bombers, like drones that are completely controlled by AI and not by humans. I mean, just to really feel you nice and warm and comfy when you go to bed at night. As well as, AI, replacing jobs, as well as AI invading in proprietary intellectual property as well. It is a big issue. I get asked that question all the time
Really?
And yeah, it is an issue. Maybe it's more so than you think, or maybe it's what you would think, Lauren. But
I was kind of disregarding this issue to some extent. I mean, I know there have been a lot of stories about it. I've read some of them. It all sounds like, science fiction.
Yeah.
And I want, I got enough to worry about in the day without thinking about that. But then I read this Wall Street Journal story last week. It's about legislation that's working its way through the California legislature. And this description got to me. Let me read it to you. The California bill, called SB 1047, requires that developers of large AI models conduct safety tests to reduce the risks of catastrophic harm from their technology, which it defines as cyber attacks that cause at least $500 million in damage or mass casualties. The developers also must ensure their AI can be shut down by a human if it starts behaving dangerously. That got my attention. I didn't realize we would be talking about those kinds of stakes this quickly.
Well, it's Terminator stuff, right? You know what I mean? That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, and there is that risk that's out there. I mean, right now, the risk of that happening right now is smaller, But anybody can see that risk is going to grow over time. What makes me laugh about a bill like this is that, like, what happens if that happens? What happens if somebody develops AI and it causes mass casualties? What is the government California going to sue them then? Like, oh, that was bad. We're taking you to court. Like, a million people are dead. So,
well, I think the hope is that they will comply with the rules and
that's the hope.
and avoid the situation.
Right. That's the hope. I mean, any law needs people, certain buy-in that people will comply with it. The tech companies aren't thrilled about it. They're pushing against it.
They're fighting this, and that's a little scary too.
Yeah. I mean, it limits, them on what they can do, and it adds more costs, and, it is the catastrophic ends of AI are, that risk is there. More so from a business standpoint. The questions I get when it comes to risks of AI isn't about Arnold Schwarzenegger, attacking, the world. It is more like security over their data. Like the big risk that a lot of businesses are concerned about is that you're relying on Microsoft Copilot, you're relying on Google Gemini or ChatGPT or any of these other AI platforms. For them to do their job, they have to use your data. And you're usually uploading this data because their platforms are in the cloud. They're not running locally, right? So you're uploading this data to these companies, like OpenAI and Microsoft. And trust me when I tell you, I look around the room, people are like, we don't trust those guys. Do you? So, they're concerned, like, what happens to our data and how secure and private is it? And those companies all swear up and down they don't use your data and they don't make it available anywhere else. And your data is your data and all of that. And, they all have a track record of violating those things or doing, bad stuff. They all do. So that's why any smart business owner is concerned about it. In the end, when it comes to protecting your data or about the world being blown up because of nefarious AI, it's all cost benefit, Lauren. That's the way I look at it. I mean, whenever people ask me about it, I'm like, you're going to upload your data to ChatGPT. Trust me when I tell you, you're taking a risk that it is exposed and not safe. I mean, that's a fact. However, the benefits you might be getting from this, like anything else in business, might significantly outweigh the potential risks, and you as a business owner have got to make that decision. And that's the same thing when it comes to AI on a catastrophic level, like the military using AI. People that are running the military are going to be deploying AI to autonomously run drones and robots and, killer machines. And their idea is they're doing this so they can defend their country. But there is a risk that AI might go out of control and turn on you, and we're all trying to mitigate and judge those rewards versus risks. And that's going to be a continuing conversation that's never going to end.
Not a conversation I ever expected to have on Dashboard.
Here we are.
Here we are. All right. Last topic. Last week you wrote. I love
this topic, by the way.
I'm struggling with the transition here.
I love it. Well, no, here's the transition. That last topic sucked and was depressing. Let's talk about something fun. How does that sound?
Thank you, Gene.
Yes.
I happen to have something based on an article that you wrote about a Chevy dealer in upstate New York that's been doing ads that are parodies of The Office. Tell us about that.
So I'm going to interview this young woman. Her name is Grace Kerber. She's like literally 9 months out of college. Okay. She graduates. She becomes like a social media person at a Chevy dealership in upstate New York called Mohawk Chevrolet, right? She comes up with the idea of doing a TikTok series of little mini episodes, just like The Office. And you guys can watch it. It's called The Dealership. You can read my Guardian column, and there's links to it there, or you can just Google The Dealership on TikTok. You'll find it. I think they're probably 10 or 11 or a dozen episodes now. I think there were 9 when I wrote this. They're doing it like every other week. They're about 3 to 6 minutes long, more than 6 million views for this Chevy dealership. And this woman's become like a celebrity, and the dealership itself has become like, famous because of that 6 million views. So a couple of comments on it. The videos are adorable. They're very funny. She's very funny. She looks really weird. She looks like weirdly like Dawn, who was the original receptionist in the Ricky Gervais office. It's kind of a weird lookalike.
The British office.
The British office, yeah. She involves all the employees or different employees. You start getting to know the employees, and they have little plot lines around, things going on in the office. It all takes place in their dealership. One episode they went and they visited like another dealership in disguise. They were wearing funny wigs and mustaches, and to see what the competition was doing. Another episode took place when, you remember when all those auto dealership the software system went down because of a ransomware attack?
Sure.
Yeah, they were in the middle of that, so they all went to paper. So she made like a little funny episode like about that. She has a guy that helps her with this, another employee. So they bought like a nice camera. They have everybody mic'd up. The sound is good. The video is good. And they, the people are into it. The employees are in it. So the unsung hero, in my opinion, is the owner of Mohawk Chevrolet, right? I mean, imagine you're the owner of this business, okay? And by the way, the guy's name is Andrew Gelcher. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Imagine you've got this kid basically out of college coming to you and saying, hey, I'd like to do this TikTok series. It's going to portray us as kind of funny and dumb, but endearing. I need equipment. I need microphones, and I need, lav mics and wireless mics. I need a camera. I'm going to be spending my time doing this, and you're going to pay me for it.
Not just her. I'm going to take a bunch of your people out of their work roles.
And you'll see, they do like these sort of their meetings, and she's filming at the meetings, and they're all joking around, and the employees are having a blast doing it. But she's pulling them away from servicing customers and selling to customers. Imagine she's pitching this to the owner of the business, and the owner of the business is like, Are you fucking kidding me? I mean,
Gene, that does lead to an obvious question. Do you think it sold any more cars?
Yeah, I think it really. I'll tell you what. First of all, I don't know. Although I did focus. There's a column written by a blogger. I'm trying to find her right now. Her name is Rachel Carton. She's a blogger. She actually links to a couple things that says that not only their website has received significant more hits and more activities. And they claim that it's having an impact on sales. Remember, this is a private company, so it's not like they're going to share what that impact is. I'll tell you the other impact that it has, though, Lauren, which is really impressive. I mean, it can't be easy attracting employees to a car dealership, in upstate New York, But when you watch these videos, it's a generally younger crowd. It's millennial, Gen Z crowd. They're having a great time. These are people that you'd like to work with. It's a nice place. You're like, if you're going to apply for a job or whatever, you're like, wow, this looks like a cool company to work for. I think it would absolutely help them attract talent to their company as well. And I think it's like a fun brand kind of thing. If you're already an existing customer, to share that and say like, okay, I bought my car. This is the dealership. They're real people. I like them. I trust them. I don't think they're messing me around when I go to buy a new car or get service. I think all of that builds their brand credibility, and it helps with retention and recruiting as well. I do think that there's actual benefits for it. The question is, how do you measure it? Do you know what I mean? And how long does this guy go in with this? The business owner, does he keep this going for a year or 2 years or 6 months or whatever? Those are decisions he'll have to make. But I give a lot of credit to Grace, to the social media woman Grace. I mean, because she really, she has a lot of self-confidence to go and put herself out there and do this. And she did a great job with it. It's a real fun series. And I think for other business owners that are looking to increase their brand or get some ideas, I think it's a great example of how you can really leverage TikTok. So
I hope at some point we get some actual data. I'd love to know how they're. I mean, it's impossible. Obviously, even the raw numbers are not going to help because the market comes and goes, and interest rates for car loans and all those things change. There are a lot of variables. But I thought about this last year. Did you see the thing? John Oliver did a show where he focused on a plumbing company. I think in Texas, maybe in Austin, Radiant Plumbing. This This company did movie parodies as as their marketing, published them on YouTube, and there were a lot of toilet jokes in them, and just kind of slapsticky and funny, but really serious attempts to parody well-known movies. And John Oliver liked it so much that he challenged them to do one based on a movie that he picked. And if they agreed to do it, he would then promise to donate a bunch of money to a charity of their cause. And they agreed to do it. He picked the movie Magnolia. I think their parody version was called Magnetoidia or something like that. And they did this really involved send-off that must have taken an incredible amount of time. And in that case, it involved all the top people at the company. But again, I have the same question. It got a ton of attention. It was on John Oliver. They were famous. Did it make any difference for the business?
So, it's funny that you bring it up. We're all trying to gauge like the value of social media, if Mohawk Chevrolet never hired this woman or just discontinued this TikTok campaign, would it make any difference at all? Do you know what I mean? Like, could they not have taken that same amount of money and spent it on local ads to draw people in or offer some kind of promotional discount to draw more customers? And like, I don't think anybody's ever going to really know. But I don't, I think it's fun, and I also think like this plumbing company that you're using as an example, it's for the employees that are there, for their community that's around them. They're on John Oliver. They're doing these funny, parodies. It's, I realize there's a balance between work and play, but gosh, I mean, how many times have you and I talked about, how to make a better workplace and how to attract and retain employees and company culture and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's like really fun stuff. And I think it keeps employees coming back and helps to, attract new employees and just makes the day go better. You're working for a plumbing company. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of shit, both figuratively and literally. So it's nice to have like something like that as a distraction, I think, to keep you entertained. You know what I mean? So there's good.
So what sitcom or movie are you going to choose to parody when you do this for your business?
With mine, I wish I could figure out that we're like this dysfunctional virtual company, So I don't. We don't even have an office to do this, from. So I have no idea. I can't come up with anything off the top of my head. Sorry.
All right. Well, I expect you to work on that. What else are you working on, Gene? What should we look for?
Next week, I'm going to write this week. Actually, I'm going to be writing for the Inquirer on the SBA is a new working capital loan program that they introduced, and I talked to a couple of bankers in the area to find out why businesses would be interested in it, and so I'll be writing about that. Maybe we can talk about that next week.
Sounds good. Gene Marks is a CPA who writes weekly on small business for The Guardian, The Hill, The Philadelphia Inquirer, The Washington Times, The Chicago Daily Herald, Forbes, and Entrepreneur. You can hear him on ABC Radio's Eye on the World with John Batchelor. Gene hosts 2 small business podcasts with Paychex Corporation and The Hartford. This episode was brought to you by The Great Game of Business, which helps businesses use an open book management system to help build healthier companies. You can learn more at greatgame.com/21hats. Thank you, Gene.
Thank you, Lauren. We will talk to you soon.
Have a good week, everybody.